Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sutavacha Vidurasthitayatrayam Maitreyadatmano Gatim Jnatva Gadasthinapuram Taya Vapta Vivistitaha.
Hare Krishna. Sri Sutta Goswami said, while traveling on a pilgrimage, Vidura received knowledge of the destination of the self from the great sage Maitreya and then returned to Hastinapur. He became as well versed in the subject as he desired.
Yavata kritavan prashnan kshata kaushara Jataika bhaktir govinde tebhyaschopararamaha.
After asking various questions and becoming established in the transcendental loving service of Lord Krishna, Vidura retired from putting questions to Maitreya Muni.
Tam bandhumagatam drishtva dharmaputra sahanujaha dhritarashtra yuyutsukscha sutasharatvat prita gandhari draupadi brahan subhadra chotara kripi anyascha jamaya pandu Jnataya susita striyaha.
When they saw Vidura return to the palace, all the inhabitants, Maharaj Yudhishthira, his younger brothers Dhritarashtra, Satyaki, Sanjay, Kripacharya, Kunti, Gandhari, Draupadi, Subhadra, Uttara, Kripi, many other wives of the Kauravas and other ladies with children, all hurried to him in great delight. It so appeared that they had regained their consciousness after a long period.
Pratyujagmo praharshena pranam tanva ivagatam abhisangasya vidivat parishvanga bivadane.
With great delight, they all approached him as if life had returned to their bodies. They exchanged obeisances and welcomed each other with embraces.
Mumuchu prema basha pogam virahaut kantya kataraha raja tamarhaya chakre kritasana parigraham.
Due to anxieties and long separation, they all cried out of affection. King Yudhishthira then arranged to offer sitting accommodations and a reception.
Tambuktavantam vishran tamasinam sukasmasane prashrayavanato raja prahatesham cha shrinvatam.
After Vidur ate sumptuously and took sufficient rest, he was comfortably seated. Then the king began to speak to him, and all who were present there listened.
Yudhishthira uvacha api smarata no yushmat chakshaya sameditan vipagna nadvishakshagnayo mochita yat samatrikaha.
Maharaj Yudhishthir said, my uncle, do you remember how you always protected us, along with our mother, from all sorts of calamities? Your partiality, like the wings of a bird, saved us from poisoning and arson.
Kaya vritya vartitam vash sharadbhikshiti mandalam tirthani kshetra mukhyani sevitani ha bhutale.
While traveling on the surface of the earth, how did you maintain your livelihood? At which holy places and pilgrimage sites did you render service?
भवद्विता भागवता तीर्थभूता स्वयं विभो तीर्थैर्कुर्वन्ति तीर्थानि स्वान्तस्ते न गदाभृता.
My Lord, devotees like your good self are verily holy places personified. Because you carry the personality of Godhead within your heart, you turn all places into places of pilgrimage.
अपि न सुहृदस्तात बान्धवा कृष्णदेवताः दृष्टाश्रुता वा यदवः स्वपुर्यां सुखमासते.
My uncle, you must have visited Dwarka. In that holy place are our friends and well-wishers, the descendants of Yadu, who are always wrapped in the service of the Lord Sri Krishna. You might have seen them or heard about them. Are they all living happily in their abodes?
इत्युक्तो धर्मराजेन सर्वं तत्समवर्णयत् यथानुभूतं क्रमशो विना यदुकुलक्षयम्.
Thus being questioned by Maharaj Yudhishthira, Mahatma Vidur gradually described everything he had personally experienced, except news of the annihilation of the Yadu dynasty.
नन्वप्रियं दुर्विषहं नृणां स्वयमुपस्थितं नावेदयत् स करुणो दुःखितान् द्रष्टुमक्षमः.
Compassionate Mahatma Vidur could not stand to see the Pandavas distressed at any time. Therefore, he did not disclose this unpalatable and unbearable incident because calamities come of their own accord.
कञ्चित् कालमथावात्सीत् सत्कृतो देववत्सुकं भ्रातुश्चेष्टस्य श्रेयस्कृत् सर्वेषां सुखमावहन्.
Thus, Mahatma Vidur, being treated just like a godly person by his kinsmen, remained there for a certain period just to rectify the mentality of his eldest brother and in this way bring happiness to all the others.
अबिभ्रधर्यमादण्ड यथावदघकारिषु यावदद्धारशूद्रस्त्वं शापाद्वर्षशतं यमः.
As long as Vidur played the part of a Sudra, being cursed by Manduka Muni, Aryama officiated at the post of Yamaraj to punish those who committed sinful acts.
युधिष्ठिरो लब्धराज्यो दृष्ट्वा पौत्रं कुलन्धरं भ्रातृभिर्लोकपालाभै मुमुदे परया श्रिया.
Having won his kingdom and observed the birth of one grandson, competent to continue the noble tradition of his family, Maharaj Yudhishthira reigned peacefully and enjoyed uncommon opulence in cooperation with his younger brothers, who were all expert administrators to the common people.
एवं गृहेषु सक्तानां प्रमत्तानां तदीहया अत्यक्रामदविज्ञातः कालपरमदुस्तरः.
Insurmountable, eternal time imperceptibly overcomes those who are too much attached to family affairs and are always engrossed in their thoughts.
हरे कृष्णा
Krishna,
हरे
Hare
कृष्णा
Krishna,
कृष्ण कृष्णा
Krishna,
हरे
Hare
हरे
Hare,
हरे
Hare
रामा
Rama,
हरे
Hare
रामा
Rama,
राम राम
Rama,
हरे
Hare
हरे.
Hare. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Can we do a sound check first? Everyone can hear me loud and clear?
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I've made you host, Prabhuji.
Yes, thank you. Hi. Vanchakapaturupyashta kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavinebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo namaha Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai Nitagora. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to come again and participate in your sangha, in your Bhagavatam recitation and some classes or in some discussions. So I'm going to share the screen of the few verses which we're going to be discussing today. So today we've been allocated series of verses from a text 4 up to text 7. And this is from the chapter 13 of the first canto entitled Dhritarashtra Quits Home. So I remember I really enjoyed reading and studying this wonderful section because kind of the overall message is who is a good friend, right? Friend in need is a friend indeed. So I was meditating what can be the discussion we can kind of take it, which direction we can kind of take this small section of verse 4 to 7. So first of all, when we study this series or this section of verses, we can see about how and what is actually the Vaishnava etiquette when we observe and see a Vaishnava or a devotee, or what is the etiquette and culture, or what is even the series of emotions we have when we see a friend. So in the verse 3 and 4, which is kind of a together verses, there's description of varieties of great personalities from the Kauravas, from the side of the Kauravas, who are very, very fond of Vidura. So as you may know, Vidura is kind of like a half brother of Dhritarashtra. He was a son of Dasi. He's a Dasi Putra. In the sense, he's a son of a maid servant. We all know that Vidura is actually Yamaraj himself. In his previous life, he had a position of Yamaraj. Therefore, he really truly understands the nature of dharma. He truly understands the nature of what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done. He understands the conduct of spirituality, and he's one of the Mahajans. So very interesting that there was a kind of in the life of Yamaraj in his previous life, he had this deep desire. He kind of had this series of thoughts. He was thinking, you know what? I'm constantly associating with all these personalities which come to the hellish regions to be judged by me. All of these people are, many times sinful. They have a lot of sinful reactions. And I know I'm performing my duty, but you know what? I really, really would like desire to associate with Krishna and with Krishna's devotees. So the mantra is from subtle to gross, means that everything starts with the desire, and gross means that it manifests in a physical realm, one way or another. So this subtle desire of Yamaraj, this meditation of Yamaraj to participate in the pastimes of the Lord, escalated to a degree when he appeared as a Vidura. And Vidura was, as we all know, a great personality and a very dear member of the court of the Kauravas. And also he was a very great well-wisher of the Yadus as well, headed by Yudhishthir Maharaj and the 5 Pandavas. So after Vidura was somehow insulted, after Vidura was insulted by Krishna, what's his name?
Duryodhana.
Exactly, thank you. Duryodhana. So Duryodhana insulted Vidura in many different ways. But then retrospectively, Vidura was so happy that he kind of severed all his attachment to the Kaurava family. But then after, now this section is showing how Vidura again entered Hastinapur, not on the premises of just some familiarity and family relationship and family reunion, but basically his mood and his desire was actually to bring Dhritarashtra and to show his position. This section is actually really raw, in the sense that when it comes to a point where Vidura actually directly speaks to Dhritarashtra, he's saying, "You're like a dog. Like, look, these Pandavas, they slaughtered all of your sons, all of your kingsmen, your soldiers, your generals. You've been so rude to them, and they completely annihilate you and all of your materialistic plans and ambitions. Yet you still live in their house, eating their refusal and their remnants like a dog." And he was like, "Have some dignity, Dhritarashtra, and leave. Like, you are in that age where you just sever all your attachments to this kingly position. You're not the emperor anymore. You've never been an emperor properly. So just disappear, go and perform austerities." And he was really, really raw with Dhritarashtra. So, but obviously everything is like, there are certain sequences in this chapter. So in the text 3 and 4, it's described all these individual great personalities, which are just very happy and very delighted to see Vidura. In the text number 5, it is said that with great delight they all approached him as life had returned to their bodies. So the term which they use is life. They said prana. So prana is this life air circulating within your body. And ultimately, prana is air. It is said that the strongest demigod in the pantheon of all the demigods is Vayu. And actually, without Vayu, nothing can be sustained, because air is actually what moves everything, from greatest of mountains to earthquakes and even to our small little bodies. This prana is sustained by the demigod of Vayu. And when Vayu or when prana is paralyzed, or certain knots in your body are paralyzed, then your body cannot function. So here in this analogy, it is said that just like life air again enters the body and rejuvenates all the movement, the same thing the Kauravas and the Yadavas been feeling when Vidura entered their sight again. In the text number 6, due to anxieties and long separation, they all cried out of affection. King Yudhishthira then arranged to offer sitting accommodations and reception. So I was thinking the other day, all these personalities, this is act of culture. This is act of culture. So these devotees are very affectionate. They're family members. They're tied with family bonds, love, and affection. And those days, I mean, even today, I assume, but I think there was also maybe slightly higher purity and higher culture of the family. I know this whole Kurukshetra war basically happened based on a dispute between family members, but in today's day and age, families are always living separately. The grandparents are not living with the children are not living in the community of brothers and sisters. So the family unit slowly kind of is dissected and dissolved. Like, I'm from Slovakia, for instance, and my parents, they lived there. So as a son, I'm not performing my sonly duties, but it's okay, I guess. My parents are cool. They're happy with me being in the ashram. But anyway, so I was saying that this affection was very much presented to Vidura. And it's always nice when you come to a place where you're affectionately received. So this is kind of the first step to receive a guest. It's not only about like what kind of a seed you offer, what kind of a reception, but what kind of a welcoming words you offer, words of affection, words of love. And sometimes these emotions are much more important than the whole magnanimity of the reception. But nevertheless, the culture of reception is very much present in this section. And King Yudhishthira then arranged to offer sitting accommodation and reception. So it is said that if you are poor and you cannot afford anything, then you should at least offer some asana, some place for the devotees or for the person to sit down, and some palatable words, some glorification, and water. So this is very much so, especially in those days when there was no cars, there was no like airplanes. All of these sages and saints, they've been traveling by foot. So part of the tradition is that so many of us, there's a bit of a kind of a, I would say, or at least here in the brahmachari ashram, many brahmacharis, they have this thing that obviously whenever you come after day of work, or not only you take shower, but on a regular basis, devotees, they wash their feet. So think about it. This is just like a small little activity, is that this reception was many times conducted, obviously with varieties of paraphernalia, like yogurt, like honey, like milk, like some clean water, and the feet being always washed. So it's not only cultural and sort of like a spiritual activity, but at the same time is a practicality. When mendicants are traveling for many, many miles, kilometers, days, then this sort of a physical and mental rejuvenation is always very much welcomed. So now in the text 7, we can see, after Vidura ate sumptuously and took sufficient rest, he was confidently seated. Then the king began to speak to him, and all who were present there listened. So one of the most important sort of interaction between guest and someone who offers the facilities is this human-like interaction. So when the guest comes, many times they are tired after their great journey. So they are offered some prasadam and sufficient rest, bath, fresh clothes, and so on. And then, as per culture dictates, they kind of come together and start inquiring. In those days, the news haven't been traveling like today. You open a WhatsApp or Zoom, or you send some kind of a message or a phone call. When someone comes from a distant place, there was kind of an impetus to learn the most and inquire the most from that individual. So we can read here a bit from Prabhupada Purport, what he wrote. King Yudhishthira was expert in reception also, even in the case of his family members. Vidura was well received by all the family members by exchange of embraces and obeisances. After that, bathing and arrangements for a sumptuous dinner were made, and then he was given sufficient rest. After finishing his rest, he was offered a comfortable place to sit, and then the king began to talk about all happenings, both family and otherwise. That is the proper way to receive a beloved friend, or even an enemy. According to Indian moral codes, even an enemy received at home should be so well received that he will not feel any fearful situation. An enemy is always afraid of his enemy, but this should not be so when he is received at home by his enemy. This means that a person, when received at home, should be treated as a relative. So what to speak of a family member like Vidura, who was a well-wisher for all the members of the family. Thus Yudhishthira Maharaj began to speak in the presence of all the members. So Prabhupada very nicely kind of went into the cultural presentation of how to receiving someone, how to give, not to show any whatsoever enmity, but only love, kindness, tolerance, and a good reception. This is what Varnashram system also needs to present. So I know in world of ISKCON or the Hare Krishna movement, the devotees, they're very well known for this wonderful cultural presentation. And in India, even the people, if they don't have much, they always are very much willing to offer and extend themselves to the degree that they're ready to cook anytime. They're ready to offer all the necessary facilities and make all the necessary arrangements to receive a guest. So it's a very wonderful culture, because what it brings, and this is the most important part of any Vaishnava devotional cultural interaction, and this is blessings. Blessings are very, very important, and blessings can only be correctly transmitted if the heart of the persons is melting. So if I come to a place where there's a lot of enmity, there's a lot of distrust, and you feel not welcomed, then you don't necessarily desire to kind of give those blessings. You don't necessarily desire to share the intimate topics of Krishna consciousness or present the philosophy, you don't feel welcomed. And if you don't feel welcomed, it's like it doesn't really work properly. So ultimately, in the Varnashram Dharma, or generally in Krishna consciousness, all the activities is actually meant to deliver blessings. If it's a cultural interaction or if it's a spiritual interaction, whatever it may be, from simple reception, like presented in this sequence of verses, or giving your obeisances to seniors, or performing your service, or accepting instructions, or following instructions. Ultimately, everything is surrounding around blessings. So even this cultural transaction is based on blessings, and ultimately realizing, because devotees, they can impart Krishna, devotees, they can give Krishna. And if the devotees are happy, then naturally they're happy to give their blessings. That's the unique and beautiful way of Vaishnava conduct and basic cultural interactions. So I will stop here. If the devotees have any questions, anything they wish to present, any points they wish to ask, or any realization they wish to share, please do so. Hare Krishna. Also, there's this option, if devotees would like to, they can send me private message. I'm not going to read their names. I'm just going to read the point or question, and then we can discuss. So any devotees have any realizations or any way they received the Vaishnava, or any way they've been received in the house of someone else, any cultural exchanges which may refer to this series of verses, any way that this is important for them, or any way they, as grihastas, majority of Yaishim are grihastas, this is your practice. This is something which especially grihasta devotees should know, how to receive guests, because that's basically the dharma of grihasta ashram, to know how to facilitate guests to bestow their blessings. And so anyone would like to share any points or any practical things to keep in mind when you're receiving a guest?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I'm Govinda Gopidasi.
Haribo Mata.
Haribo. Usually in UK, even though our own relative or own friends, sometimes they do not let you go into their house. They just open the door and they stand outside and talk to you. And they will not receive like what our culture, Krishna consciousness, do that. And they will talk outside, and they did not even offer anything, any drink or whatever, but they talk to you outside the home. It's a not very nice culture. And but as a Krishna conscious devotee, from what we have learned from Bhagavad Gita and what we learned from Srimad Bhagavatam, when someone comes to your house, we should offer them a drink, a place, even your enemy, we should do that, and talk nice word, as what this is more from the nectar of instruction. And we should always make sure when they leave your house, we should make sure they go up the car, and not just when they leave the house, you close the door. It's not a very nice thing. We have been in that position. Sometimes, devotee, they just talk to you, and before you leave to the car, they just close the door, and you feel like that's not a very good gesture. So if we follow Krishna consciousness, there'll be a lot of loving exchange. So it's very important. Even that small etiquette is very important to feel the loving exchange and the trust of a devotee. Thank you so much. I hope it helps. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. That was very wonderful point. Much appreciated. Yes. So as Mataji was mentioning, there are certain small points which can make the heart grow fonder And that's what this kind of a Vedic culture is all about. And Prabhupada was specifically speaking in this purport that even if an enemy, right, even if an enemy enters your house, you should not feel like an enemy. Said, yes, you may have some dispute, there may be some difficulties and challenges, but this is the beauty of the Vedic culture, Krishna consciousness, that so there's higher knowledge, higher wisdom, which needs to overtake in our emotional state. So even if we have negativity, hostility towards someone, the culture, the Vedic culture dictates some respect, some correct reception, some kind of a affectionate welcome, even if you're enemies. So this is the beauty of Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, that actually that culture, the spiritual culture, protects our spiritual life in a sense that it forces us to act above our mental and emotional state, and forces us to be more kind of a culturally tuned in for our own benefit. So it's very interesting. If you dive deeper into this topic of reception, even for a friend and for an enemy in your home, it brings wonderful points which go beyond our sort of a mental state, but rather they dictate how to have wonderful sort of a Vaishnava dealings. And yeah, as I said, the heart will melt if you receive someone nicely. Thank you so much for that. Any other points, dear devotees?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Antaranga, please explain humble obeisances. Allah still Shri Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Yes, Prabhu, yeah. This is a like Vedic culture that you have to receive the guest. But the day by day, as the Kali is progressing, looks like it is diminishing. But yes, in Krishna consciousness, when the devotees come, they invite. There's such a warm welcome. But like Mataji said, due to the cold weather, even devotees come, but if it's cold, then they just see up to the end. When they move, they just close the door. It's because of the weather as well. But in a warm place, yes, olden days they used to follow them, up to the car or wherever until they see them. They just wait and wave them. So yeah, but unfortunately, like influence of Western culture as well. So, but yeah, like if devotee, anybody comes, we should, welcome them. They do not feel that we are not welcomed. And especially, when you have program and other devotees come, it's naturally because in Krishna consciousness, it's, when the devotees, anybody comes, like it's a feeling that you just, it's a family. And so whenever somebody comes, you just receive them nicely. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Krishna Mani Mataji. That was a very wonderful point. Yes, please don't let this cultural loving exchange between the guest and the household. Let's not allow this to die. Let's maintain this wonderful culture. Thank you for those points.
Hare Krishna, Antaranga Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. Our grace to Srila Prabhupada. It's wonderful that what you spoke very nicely about our tradition in Vedic system, how Vidura was, welcome and being taken care of. That is the cultural process of Vedic system. And definitely when we were back home, it was, I remember my uncles, maybe, they would come middle of the night without saying anything. Then they were very, very welcome. The whole family come in the middle of the night. My mother would, make all the arrangement for them to cook again and serve them, give them enough, for them to make them comfortable. That was the system. It was so nice. But during the book distribution, when I went door to door, I see that how different people, welcome you or not welcome you in a different way. some of the people, they really, when during the winter time, they say, please come in, it's too cold, come in, come in. Some of them welcome you so nicely and ask you questions and take the book, and some of them, they will bring a dog and just get you out as soon as possible, So it depends, on your individual consciousness, how you treat different people. I mean, our culture is Vedic culture, so we know. But then we have to sort of go along. I mean, we just accept it. Whoever can, that's the way they can do. They can't do anything else. So so yeah. But we have to do our best. That's what I've done. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Yes. So yeah, we're still living in a Western world, so the Vedic culture is not very much predominant here. That's why whole Western societies with big percentages dealing with varieties of troubles and difficulties on a social level and also on a individual level. So what to do? That's the way things are. Also, many people which are knocking on your doors are not many times not even like very friendly. Many times there's some kind of a level of exploitation always offered. And as I just received a message here, yes, it's Kali Yuga. So of practicality must be adhered. So yeah, in the age of Kali, we can't expect that people will have these Vaishnava dealings. But Vaishnava is tolerant, Vaishnava is kind, Vaishnava is loving and forbearing, and ultimately Vaishnava can give blessings even in the worst reception he may receive. He can always find something good. So Vaishnava will always find something good in the heart of others. So yeah, that's there.
Hare Krishna, sorry, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. My humble
Hare
obeisance to you.
Of course.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I would say, like in Indian culture, even now, even the children are made to welcome guests, because when children become teenagers or kind of a little bit older, I mean, whenever guests come, then moms and dad would say, go and bring water, sweets. We know that whenever the guests come, it's always from the whatever sweet or whatever we have in the house, we'll just arrange in a plate nicely and give it to the guests, and the guests would say, oh yeah, your daughter has become old enough, or the son has become grown so tall or whatever. But like in teenage years, it'll be a bit of shyness to come out, but always during guests coming, always parents will ask the children to come out and receive the guests properly. So it's like a culture and etiquette to do that, which is absolutely missing, I think, in here. Because I don't think, obviously, if there are larger families and extended families here, they might do it. But those who have come from India, for them, they don't have families here. So their children don't learn that, whoever guests come, the children will come out and, give water and sweets to them. It's not, I mean, they don't learn that at all here. That's what I find. Like in India, it's very common to receive guests very nicely.
Well,
Okay.
Mataji, we should not allow it to die. So maybe we should be part of the preaching. You see, that's the beauty of the Vedic culture, that ultimately on the end of that cultural exchange is, as I said, is blessings, right? So if small children come and welcome the guests, then, and they serve them, they, for instance, wash their feet, or they bring some water, or they help with cooking, or whatever they do, there's always blessings. And we need blessings. We need a lot of blessings in our spiritual life. So that's always there. Yes, thank you for that point. So
Thank you.
education should start in a young age. Wonderful. Any other points, dear devotees, which you'd like to share? Any questions, realizations?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams, all glory to Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
That you are practicing it so nicely with the wonderful blessings of your Guru Maharaj after your recent trip to Andaman. People with different upbringing, seeing a person who has never been exposed to Vedic culture, practicing so nicely, like yourself and other devotees at the ashram, is a wonderful boon for the Krishna conscious movement. So our blessings are with you. Please continue to inspire others so that your Guru Maharaj, Prabhupada, and all the devotees are pleased all the way back to Godhead.
Jai. Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu ki jai. I need to also say a few words about you, Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu. You're always such a great, wonderful inspiration. You're always very positive, very kind, and you never run out of good words about other Vaishnavas. So,
but they are the source of my blessing. So what else can I have?
Hare Krishna. You're like an ocean of positivity.
I don't know about that, but I'm taking it from Keshav Maharaj and other Maharajas. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Chandra Chaitanya. Jai. Thank you, dear Vaishnavas. With your kind blessings and permission, I think we can end up this evening's session. Thank you so much for your kind tolerance and staying with us. I'm wishing you all the best. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnavi.
Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji, for very
Hare
nice.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.